It's recorded now.
All right. Okay, start.
I guess so.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 25th Joint Facilities Advisory Commission meeting. We're holding a hybrid public meeting which enables in-person and remote electronic participation as legally authorized by the Code of Virginia for JFAC's electronic meeting policy. This meeting is being recorded for our public records and will be posted to the Arlington County Commission Meetings YouTube page. The Microsoft Teams meeting chat is active to serve two purposes: for participants who need technical assistance and to indicate that you would like to speak during public comment. We will hold public comment periods at the beginning and end of meeting. Those requesting to speak may speak during only one comment period and will be allotted up to 3 minutes to speak on tonight's agenda items. When virtual attendees are called upon to speak, you must unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon that is located on your meeting command bar. The moderator does not have the ability to unmute you. You will be muted when your time has concluded. For commissioners attending virtually, please keep your camera on for the duration of the meeting. Otherwise, you'll be marked absent and unable to participate. If you wish to be recognized, please use the raise hand feature within Teams or ask to be recognized using the chat bot. Lastly, this is a public forum. All information associated with today's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to the Freedom of Information Act requirements. All right. Having said all that, we'll move to the shares update. Some admin items really to talk about first. With the passing of the torch between Kuhn and Emily, one of the best practices we had from previous their experience was, hey, why don't we have RSVPs do the Friday before the meeting, which we tried to do this year, for this meeting. That way we know if we have a quorum or not. We're not waiting till the last minute. Some of y'all already remember we would have meetings canceled last year at the last minute. Just trying to get ahead of that. That way we can plan accordingly. So please, if you can, if you don't know, like for me, I didn't know my schedule until Sunday. So do the best you can. You know, it's all good. But that's what we're trying to get back to. Junior Birdman here. Okay. Our next meeting is May 11th. It's a joint meeting with the Facilities Advisory Commission. We're going to go over demographic data and student enrollment numbers. Location to be determined. We'll probably need a bigger space. It's as a former FAC person, they tend to meet at various schools, which could lend itself. I don't know how that works for our technological needs, but I'll let our liaisons liaise and figure that out.
I did talk about stipends.
I think so.
Okay, no, that's fine.
And May 11th is a Monday.
It is, yeah. That's usually when the Facilities Advisory Commission meeting.
7 o'clock.
Yeah, it's 7 to 9 usually. But more info to come out. We spoke with our county board liaisons. Are either of them on? I know Kathleen texted me. She's going to be coming on later, and I believe there's a board meeting going on next door. So that's where everybody else is. But in our meeting, some concern would not be the right way to put it. Some ideas were suggested on growing JFAC. You know, we've got a strong but mighty group. We grew by 3. Thank you to our new people, Peter, that are here, looking to add 3 more. And we want to add more than that, but at least 2 to 3 more people in this next 6 months, looking to really try and find voices that aren't already represented. So it's hard to find those voices when your networks are your network, and they're probably, you know, people that you live nearby or go to school with or whatever. Well, those people are here. But if you can, you know, kind of expand your networks, think of people who, you know, might be a different place in life or whatever. That might be anything would be a good fit. Send their information to me. I'm happy to chat with them, or to Kathleen or Takas, and we'll go from there. But the reason we want the other long-term goal is to do this like every year. So we have 3 people. So that way we're, you know, because if you have everybody in a big group, well, 5 years from down the road, they're all going to age out at the same time and you're in the same problem. So we're going to try and grow slowly and smartly. We also are in the May meeting, our May meeting, which will be at the end of May. We will have a meeting about, or discuss about election, or using our schools as polling places for elections. Now, November election, it's a school holiday, problem solved. However, there are several facilities throughout the county, APS facilities that are used for county elections for primaries. And
Or
many,
special elections, like in less than a month from now.
right. So there is some issues with some of those locations that don't have separate entrances. So there's some security where they have to have someone stand there and like be a barrier to, hey, no, kids don't go this way. You're not using the gym today, or the cafeteria, whatever spaces they're holding elections, and vice versa for general public. So just some concerns there. I'm going to, for our next May meeting, I'm going to be reaching out to Kim Graves, who's in charge of facilities for, and figure out what places where that's an issue, and kind of come up with some ideas to present and brainstorm on for our May meeting.
Why Prince William schools actually made it. Right.
Considering that their next.
It's
meeting-
on it's an info action item on Thursday. There has been in the past where we have forgotten about the November election and added that last minute as well. But there's
Yeah.
really, like New York City and Chicago do not always close.
Yeah.
For election day. Where I grew up, we did not close for election.
In
There's
Arlington.
ways to figure this out.
And Arlington didn't used to.
Right. It's an operations question, I think.
Right. And there could be some funding questions about using our spaces and, you know.
Well, it's against our security protocol, which
Right.
is what the issue is.
I mean, my kid's in a relocatable. He could work out of the
Right.
cafeteria for the day and they could use that.
Right. And the last item for our May meeting, so we got little over 2 months before that. I would like to ask to form some teams of JFAC members and look at, so we're going to get a presentation later on current use of APS and county spaces for non-county activities. On that same public-private partnership vein, one of the things we want to get better at after talking with the board liaisons is how that works. How exactly are nonprofits and other entities able to use county facilities, public school facilities, both in different neighboring jurisdictions? So someone has strong feelings either way. I've kind of made 3 teams. I'm going to do one on my own, maybe with staff help. I don't know. We'll see. But I've got 4 places. So I put Kurt and Allison together, Natalie and John together, and then April and Peter together to work on. And we have 4 places I'd like to look at. Certainly open to others if think Alexandria, Falls Church, Fairfax, and Prince William County. Trying to stay in Virginia because that's where we have a lot of. So if you were a nonprofit, how can you use
So in other systems, how they do it.
exactly? So like pretend you are a large group that a civic organization, that is a performing arts, that is a sports. Is the process the same? And I will send an email out with the questions and you know, hey, these are the things I want you to address. But you have plenty of time to do it. And it's really just an information gathering thing at this point. What we're seeing, and I'm sure what we talked about at least at the liaison meeting was a lot of it's disjointed. You know, if you know Mary down at whatever office, you can get in after hours and it's fine. But if you don't know Mary, there's a problem. You know, like, you know, and if you're coming from this position of authority, you might be able to get in somewhere. And it should be more transparent. It should be more like, okay, this is the process. Not necessarily as a revenue stream, but more of a like, hey, our facilities are a county resource. We should be able
Yeah, I think
to.
it's an equity question.
100%. And when you think about all the wonderful things we've got going on in Arlington, we should be able to share those resources with, you know, nonprofits and groups for the community benefit writ large. So does anyone have any strong feelings about which one they go after? I would like to do Prince William because it's furthest, and I figured nobody else would want it. But yeah, I'm happy to do any of them.
Alexandria?
Falls Church,
So that leaves me with
Fairfax.
You can do another area. I was just throwing it out there.
Arlington, closer to
Arlington's
You definitely are
demographics, you know, their size, closer to Arlington's size, their demographics, you know.
Fairfax could be fascinating.
Could be.
Yes, yes.
We'll see.
I'm sure there's a policy for it.
Yeah.
There. They got a policy
Oh,
for
yeah.
everything.
Actually, Fairfax can work because I've got a friend who's a principal who can steer me.
Yeah.
So Fairfax is fun.
All right, great.
Sorry for the death glare.
Sorry, Natalie, you're not here. You don't get a vote.
Well, that was why I didn't say anything. I was looking up to give Natalie the choice and
Yeah.
got beat out.
Yeah, she's not there. Okay. No, she did the RCP thing. She had an engagement. Okay. Is that everything? That
hand
is everything. Yes. Peter, did you have a hand up? No. Okay. All right. Moving on to public comment. If you are a member of the public and would like to comment, please virtually raise your hand to be recognized and called on. Okay. I can't see who it is. Ria?
Right,
Hey.
yes.
There it
Hi, I'm slightly a member of the public, but actually I'm the facilities manager for cultural affairs of Arlington County. And we've been in transition and moved from DPR into other places, but there actually is a formal process for arts groups to use joint use facilities. We have several groups that are Arlington based. The process right now is that if you are an Arlington based 501c3 that is receiving a grant through Arlington County, they contact us and we are able to facilitate with specifically Thomas Jefferson Middle and Gunston for use of the theater space there at an extremely subsidized rate. APS, as you guys probably know, have their own nonprofit rate, but at least for cultural affairs, this program's been in place for many, many years now, and we spend about, I think the last time I did the math, around 2,000 hours at least each year in joint use facilities with these external groups.
That's awesome. Is it appropriate for me to ask her questions? He's a county facility person, right? Yeah, so, sorry, just admin issue. So because you're a county employee, we don't normally have the 3-minute issue. Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. And I've seen the community groups at Gunston and TJ like advertising their shows. But I just want to clarify something you said. So there is a formal process for arts groups, but you have to be on a grant from Arlington, be based in Arlington, and having a grant in order to participate.
The grant our grants process is kind of in a little flux. Like, it's being updated, but the basis is Arlington-based nonprofits get the subsidized rate. And right now, the subsidized rate, we're in the budget process, so you guys know that prices change over time, but it's $36 an hour for the hours that they are in the theater. There's no rental fee, there's no custodial fee. That gets subsidized by cultural affairs.
Nice. Okay. So it's really just the subsidized rate. Anyone, if you were a larger community organization that has a local chapter, but they're under a larger 501(c)(3) umbrella, they could still use it, but not necessarily at the subsidized rate.
Those would end up being rentals through schools, but schools has its own 501c3 rate that's different from the full price for school rentals.
We're gonna go through that.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. That's wonderful. Ma'am, did you have anything else to add? You're certainly welcome to speak say anything else.
No, I just wanted to add that portion since it was the question about a formalized process, which at least for arts groups there is.
Great. As a county employee, if you want to stay on, April's presentation I think is going to be first, despite what the things.
Yeah, it would be helpful if there's any questions about
Yep.
that part. But I don't have all the information that I
No.
would like to have for the
Yeah.
presentation. So yeah, but if not, that's fine too. And then we can ask you more questions.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
No problem. Happy to be here.
Is there anyone else online who would like to speak that hasn't raised their hand already? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to the approval of the meeting minutes, which were emailed out earlier this week. Any questions, comments, concerns, or motions?
I would like to move that we approve the minutes from last.
Second.
Those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
All right. Opposed? Motion carries. Excellent. All right, and, oh, it is correct on this one, the one I saw was opposite. Okay, moving on to April, whenever you want to pull up the slide deck here for everyone online to see.
So I am covering APS facilities for non-APS entities, basically, today, which is part of, you can, I guess, I don't do the slides, you can slides, right?
Yeah, just tell them to slide next slide.
Okay, so turn slide.
Next slide, yeah.
Yeah, and I just kind of made this little thing, like,
I
we
love it.
kind of talked about public-private partnerships and maybe the joint use and the facility use by non-county or APS people as a private-public partnership, but really there's, when you talk about private-public partnerships, there's a whole like group of things you could talk about, and so I
White
think.
umbrella.
Yeah, you like my umbrella? I whole umbrella. And so joint use agreements between the county and APS or in between different entities, and then also like a main one is like when you build a building, you're contracting a company to build your building or to do HVAC or to do roof. But then the thing in PG County that they're talking about in the FAC is financing, design, building, and maintaining buildings. But then there's other public-private partnerships like solar purchase agreements that we have on the library and Lumber Run. And then there's private entities giving, I don't know what to call this, but private entities giving space like the Arlington Community High School and the Amazon lab at Wakefield. So there's lots of public-private partnerships going on, and maybe we want to like look at these more, but the thing that I'm looking at today is APS facilities and any other use besides APS. So next slide. So the main use of APS facilities that's not APS is the county. And so I know that I'm probably sounding a little confusing, I don't really understand all this stuff myself, but you've got DPR is a big one, and we talked about that a lot last time with fields, but I think the agreement with DPR is they take care of the fields and the outside land, but then they get to use the facilities of the gyms. So they take care of the fields and the outside spaces, and in agreement, they can use gyms and classrooms, and they can schedule that outside of, the school gets it first, and then DPR can schedule it after that. And then we have site sites that have community centers and schools. TJ, Gunston, Drew, Huffman Buston, and Langston all have community centers and schools, and libraries is very similar, and pools are very similar in that we have these spaces, this land and these buildings, and when we renovated or added on, we said, hey, let's give something to the community, or they worked out an agreement between the county and schools to provide your services. Okay, next slide. Again, DPR, there's lots of DPR use of the schools, not only at the community centers, but also in the schools. In particular, they contract with aftercare and summer camp programming in the schools. And it's not all kids. Project 5 goes up to age 21. That's a disabled group. But yeah, so DPR programs are a part of that. Okay, next slide. And then Outdoor Lab and Planetarium. These are Arlington-based nonprofit entities that have agreements with APS, I believe. Okay, next slide.
Sorry, what does that say?
Outdoor Lab and Planetarium.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're Arlington-based nonprofit entities that work with APS. Okay. Okay, so the policy on use of school facilities, there's a priority ordering. There's 4 categories: category 1, category 2, category 3, category 4. And everybody falls in those if you want to use a space. And I'm going to go through all those categories in the following slides, but if we wanted to look at the actual school board policy, it's in that first link. There's also an online scheduling link but I wasn't able to log into that. I guess you need to get us, I don't know, somehow you need to have get into that, and I don't know how to do that. And I tried and I asked for permission, but I haven't, it was a few days ago and I haven't heard anything. So I don't know how much the online scheduling form is useful to people if you have to have somebody hook you up with that or whatever. And then if you guys want to see an actual scheduling form, what's required on it is the 501c3. If you're a nonprofit, you don't have to be a nonprofit, but if you're a nonprofit, you have to have proof, and you also have to have liability insurance.
It specifies C3.
Oh, did I get it wrong? It's
No, that's very possible. I'm just curious if it.
I didn't look at the thing that I was
Okay,
making.
okay.
So we can- we can-
Sounds right.
There's some sports or sometimes C7s and
Okay,
there's
Fair.
there's other nonprofit like
yeah.
numbers.
There's several Cs.
Okay.
I just
So
was curious
it might be that like, if you're a nonprofit, as long as you have proof, whatever the form is.
990 or.
It says on the form 501c3, but
Oh, well,
maybe
then
they
that's
would,
maybe specific then.
yeah, maybe.
That is a public charity, so a C3 is a public charity for a public benefit, whereas other Cs don't have different designations, and so that may be why there's that distinction there, perhaps.
Yes, I have found sometimes APS doesn't, they sometimes just say nonprofit, they don't specify C3, but like a run club sometimes is like a C7 or C5. So I just was curious if it actually specified C3.
I mean, we can look at this, if you want, we can look at this form.
So sorry to interject. For what it's worth, for all of the joint use agreements that we have with them, it's always C3, and the same for their nonprofit rate for rentals for APS.
Wonder if that'd be something worth
Nice,
exploring.
thank you.
Yeah, that is true. That's very good. Okay. All right, next slide. So category 1 is, I mean, these people, this category, they can pretty much get, they don't have to pay anything, and they have priority to reserve space. So obviously student groups that are at APS, nonprofit groups that support the schools like booster clubs and PTAs, county programs, they have the Arlington Adult Education, other county programs, student groups that are comprised of county residents. So that would be, it doesn't necessarily have to be at the school. Civic Federation member
So
groups.
that's a great example. Most civic federations are C4s.
Okay. Volunteer groups that serve APS, APS employee bargaining units, and scouts. I believe the scout thing is a federal code that you would need to provide here because it said on there something about federal code.
Yeah, no, I do know that scouts are defined. It's whatever scouting is calling itself now. In the code, it says Boy Scouts of America and Girl Scouts of America are defined in federal code as blah, 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 whatever.
Right.
That's probably what it's referring to.
And giving them priority 1 priority is
Oh, okay.
part of some federal, like maybe schools have to provide spaces for these groups. I don't know. Okay, next slide. Category 2, student groups or civic association groups whose purpose, if you're category 1, but you want to use it to raise money, you can slip down to category 2. So if you are a student group that would normally meet at the school, but you want to charge admission for a fundraiser, or if you have to sign up like a county program that you have to, not a county program, but like a non-county program that you'd have to register for, that puts you down to category 2, because any payment involved, you're not getting it free of charge. You're having to. Nonprofit educational groups, Arlington-based nonprofits. Nonprofit educational groups could refer to like universities, any kind of educational related nonprofit is category 2. Political campaigns and activities whose constituency includes Arlington, religious and cultural organizations serving Arlington County. So I guess that's where one of the places where the cultural organizations comes in with theater groups. Anyway, so those are category 2. And so this is all written out in school board policy, how these categories came. Okay, next category, next slide. So category 3 is non-Arlington nonprofit. So that large national nonprofit that wants to hold an event at a school is category 3. They're going to end up having to pay. Category 3 and category 4 Category 4 is like paying full for the custodial and full 100% of the rental fee. Category 3 is like, I mean, it's like 50% of the rental fee. So as these categories go down, you pay more to be able to use the space, and you don't have priority for the space. So any group can be category 4 and asked to use our schools. And any groups that charge for admission or registration are also category 4. Next slide.
So you could be one of the ones above, but if you were having a big event charging you permission, you're now cap 4, so you have to pay for more.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. I don't know exactly how it works with the DPR programs, because those you register in for a
Sure.
you pay. They probably pay something. I don't, that's a question I had. I didn't.
I mean, that's a
know.
good question, I think, in between county board and Arlington Public Schools from an MOU standpoint, if
That's right.
is APS giving GPR free space?
In some cases, if there's an agreement, they do, like for instance, the Heights building. But the county did also do some contribution to the building.
I think all of these have that question, like you've got obviously polling places, you've got, I mean, these are just some things that I contacted the facility, one of the facilities people, and I didn't do it early enough, and I don't have all the information that I wanted to get. And maybe it's worth it to us to find out exactly what groups are using it and what are they paying and who, and all of that. But we've got 40 buildings we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. And so there's just some example. I mean, the theater groups, like was it Rhea said that they're using TJ and Gunston, that they could potentially, there are auditoriums at other schools, and they could go through the process of trying to get facilities and reserving them at other schools. But it sounds like it's much easier to go through cultural affairs and do, because that they facilitate that for them. And yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Is this all school by school? or is
Yes. So that's the other thing is when you go in, there's a facility person at each school that does the scheduling. And so that, I don't know if when you go onto that online system, if you can see which schools have auditoriums, which schools have this, which schools have that, and then try to reserve multiple ones. But you basically have to say what school you're interested in. Yeah, and so I just kind of came up with some things that I noticed that other people are using this, other groups are using this for, but there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to kind of capture that.
I mean, if you're a hyper local like group and you want to use that particular school in your neighborhood or whatever, sure, that's worth. But if you're like a countywide arts group that just needs a place to practice and you don't really care where,
Yeah.
that could be a barrier, right?
Yeah,
You have to
exactly.
apply to all the 40 different places that have a facility that works for you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or if you just need a classroom,
Yeah.
a classroom and you're thinking, I want to be at WL because that's the one I know.
Right.
But that one might be harder to get into and more expensive and more, and
Or not available for
or
whatever.
not
reason.
available.
The form that you found, does that go to SciFax or that's a school by school form?
I think it gets, we'll go back.
I'm
up.
I'm
Go
so
ahead.
sorry to interject.
No,
EMS has they updated the license on it recently, and that's why you no longer have public access. It caused you used to be able to go through directly, but now you have to contact, like exactly what you were saying, you have to contact the facility manager. However, for arts groups who want rehearsal space, Cultural Affairs has free rehearsal space for Arlington-based groups and rentals.
4 mile run. At the end of the- Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's why she's explaining why I couldn't get into the online system. But they did some upgrade and now you can't get in unless.
So this is a temporary issue or
It
this?
sounds like you have to contact.
It's
the-
supposed to be a temporary issue. Our theater groups used to be able to view their registration and stuff the same way you were talking about, and it's caused a big issue once they updated the license software. But yeah, it's supposed to be temporary.
Okay.
So when they go in, they can see all the theaters that are an option in pre-world, and then they could click which one they're interested in.
Correct. The main ones that have joint use through cultural affairs specifically, which for us, that just means that we also can provide a theater technician to support them, are TJ, Gunston, W&L slightly, and Kenmore.
Is it okay to keep asking?
Yeah.
So how does that work from a logistics standpoint as far as, is W&L told, like, this group's coming in on Thursday? And so you need to have custodians and lights on and bathroom going and all that stuff? Or do they tell you when they're okay with it being open? I guess, how does the kind of SOP work on, I'm just thinking like if they had something planned in that space or they weren't planning on having a custodian on that night or whatever, how does that work logistically?
Schools always gets priority. We open our requests for space, actually March 1st through March 30th, people put in requests. Schools start approving things for the following year in August after teachers have returned and put in their dates. There's a 2-week cutoff for access to space for exactly the reason you're talking, like the custodial scheduling at schools is on a 2-week thing for overtime, et cetera. If there's an issue, I think if you guys are familiar with Mother Language Day, that's one of our bigger events. We talk about that a year in advance with the facilitator over at Kenmore to make sure that everything's in place. For the most part, because we've had this system in place for so many years, the facility managers and myself coordinate prior to, along with the production team of the theater when necessary.
Just thinking about scaling that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, or not just what you have a responsible for.
Right. Okay, next slide. I think I have one more, maybe. Okay, yeah, all that we're talking about. So like, yeah, first of all, are there county needs that could be met through the facility, the school facilities, and are we meeting those and whatever? I didn't see outside that there's adult education, which goes through, I think, does that go through APS? I mean, it's at APS facilities, I think. Does the whole adult education catalog.
Or the thing that comes
it's
in the mail.
Yeah, I think that's under APS, I believe. But there's no 55 plus program classes at schools. They're all at community centers, and there's no TPR adult classes at schools, it seems like. So it seems like, I don't know. I mean, for example, could during the summer could 55 plus pickleball occur at auditorium, at gymnasiums in schools, or could, are there needs out there that aren't being met with the way we have it? And then I don't know what the fee schedules are and how they compare to other jurisdictions, and are we getting groups coming in paying for space, or are we not? And do we want to use our empty buildings and have more people come in and use them? And so like, what is the fee schedule? How many groups are coming in and using it in category 4 and 5? And if somebody comes and asks for one of the high schools, that they can't get it because it's too expensive, is there somebody to say, hey, well, there's other options in our system that are less expensive and smaller and might suit your needs? Like, and so that's going back to like, is there somebody, like, should there be more of a centralized, system? I kind of figured.
Well, I just wanted to note that I worked on some MOAs that we did, and think that it's school-based decision-making is that they have the priority for their programs.
Right.
So the school has to be involved. It can't just be a joint, somebody tells the school that, by the way, your auditorium being used from here to here.
Right.
Like, wait, we have spring music.
Yeah.
But I can say from doing work in facilities, very few spaces are empty.
Yeah.
Especially the gyms, especially auditoriums, especially, the larger spaces.
Okay.
I can say there's multiple churches in schools, because whenever I do a project, we have to make sure that we relocate them or do something if we have to shut down the school because there's not going to be power or whatever.
Okay.
When we do a project. So there is heavy use,
Okay.
and I've done educational facilities for like 40 years. And I've never been in a system that uses their facilities from 7 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night.
That's good.
So I mean, it is heavily used. I don't know how the system necessarily works because I don't get involved in that, other than when I'm trying to negotiate an MOA, which is typically with DPR.
Okay, okay. I mean, it would be nice to have an idea of the use, and if there was I don't know if there's a central facilities person that oversees the 20, the 40
Mhm.
other people, and whether or not she knows what's going on in all the schools, I don't know, but yeah, that was a question of a category use type thing, like maybe if someone wanted classrooms and they wanted a certain school and it wasn't available, getting it kicked out, or having the person say, why don't you try this school, or,
Yeah.
or something like some kind of coordinate. It doesn't I can understand why the school needs to be the one to decide for their own building, but yeah.
There's not a way for anyone to like see, unless you go to each location and ask, is Tuesdays your gym used from 6 to 7 or whatever? You can't just like see
And
wait.
yeah, to equate it to like the library system,
Right.
I haven't booked a room yesterday. There's one website, you go in, you can see all the library locations, see all the rooms, you can
Yeah.
see how many they hold, you can see what hours they're available, and you click the thing and you send in a request. The library can certainly decline you for whatever reason, but it is helpful I wanted Central, it wasn't available, I ended up at Westover.
Yeah.
And actually the same type of system exists for fields,
Uh-huh.
that you can go in and say what you're interested in, what type of field, and click a button and it sort of can show you what's available.
Right. I don't know if the online system that I wasn't able to, they were not able to get into is like that. I
can only imagine.
it should be, you should be able to log on and click,
I do think the fee schedule should be published somewhere.
Yeah.
That seems like
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that would be almost even voted on as a school board policy.
I'm making a note to ask Kim about that online system.
Okay, that's good. And maybe the
Fee schedule.
fee schedule. I mean, I had, for example, when I was a PTA president, I had Odyssey of the Mind call me. They wanted to do it in Arlington. And if you have any, like Odyssey of the Mind,
Oh, I
Linear
see.
Robotics, any of that stuff, you're going out to Reston or to Alexandria because it's too expensive. And so she called me saying, oh, can you say that we're part of your PTA? I would love for you guys to be at WL. That would be great for families and parents, but of course.
Because
I
Odyssey
can't
mine's
say
not
that.
a
They're not.
501c3 or whatever.
They're not local. They're not an Arlington local. And even though it's a local chapter, it's not. And so it was like $200,000 or something.
Yeah,
It was
cost
something.
prohibitive.
Because they were 3 on the category, is that?
Yeah, they were like category 3 or probably.
But I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of the thing we want to like shine a little light on. Like, well, wait a minute, like
But
they are a nonprofit, they're just not local. but they
Well,
are
like how
local.
much are they paying when we go out to Ruston?
Right.
And but maybe we don't have any empty buildings. Maybe they're being used by Arlington residents for these other activities. And that's why there's these categories. We want our residents to be able to use our buildings.
Well, yeah, so then what's the question is usage.
Yeah, we need to find out like that. And yeah,
But we can't do that without the online system or going to every single location and finding out, right?
If it's siloed, yeah.
If it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Seems less than ideal.
So that's my presentation. I hope it was informative. It seems to me like this is the heart of what we do as JFAC, right? We're talking
Yes.
about, and joint uses. And I just did the schools. So other future, we could do county buildings. You see what those are like in terms of the same thing. We could look at other P3 setups. We could look at coordination, different other ways of coordinating this, and what's being done, what is occurring now in more detail. So those are other things we could look at if we wanted to, I guess. So, all right, that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I am gonna have to leave early, so I'm sorry.
Do you have a few more minutes?
Yeah.
Peter, any questions you want to ask for?
Nope, thanks, Andy. This is great. Appreciate it.
Anyone in the room? I just want to say thank you, April. This was a huge, like a very vague, not intentionally vague ask, but you found a lot of great information. And I think it raises a lot of questions that we can build on, like you just said, like for our JFAC, like going in the future and like future initiatives. I really feel like whenever we have our May meeting and the things we're going to look at the other counties, we're going to find some things that might be beneficial. We can, you know, like you had in the beginning, that big umbrella, like bring, you know, sports and arts and library and APS and other county facilities all into like a way to, hey, you know what, I can meet outside, but I can also meet inside. You know, what about something like that, you know, or a pavilion would be fine, but I need a bathroom. Like, so now I need, anyway, I'm just,
Revenue streams for
so.
us.
Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to have all that in one under one,
Yeah.
you know? I need a room. I need a classroom or I
There's
need a
two
whatever.
main benefits I see from there's a revenue raising possibility for our schools, but also as our demographics change in Arlington and we are aging and all of that, what use can the community that doesn't have kids in school get out of our school buildings?
Right. Looking towards what do we need to do? Do we just need to have an external door near the gym or something? Or do we, you know, like how to make that, all of this work? If it's, I mean, maybe it's already being used. 100%.
Yeah,
But-
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's very similar to like our facility usage, student enrollment data. Like, there's no such thing as an empty school. Every school is going to use every space available, even if the numbers are, you know, a little different across the county.
But we do things like provide public facing toilets. Like, for instance, at the Heights, there's toilets that are open to outside that basically the county controls. There's also at Dorothy Ham, toilets like that are outside.
For people using the
My
field.
kids are at Dorothy Hammond. I didn't know that. Where are they? Out the back, okay.
But they're for use in when the DPR program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and there's
Oh,
some
good.
used for markets. Cardinal was built so that there are toilets in a vestibule. You go in towards the gym. So when a DPR program is held outside or inside, they have access to toilets.
Right, that's great.
So those are things that we do. Teachers, I mean, the reason we do
Discovery has them apparently.
full-size gyms now in elementary schools is for community use. Discovery to the elementary program doesn't necessarily need a full-size gym, but all programs. And then some have bleachers, some don't. That's always been a debate when we have done the construction in the past 10 years, and I've been involved in. I mean, it's just a bench at the Heights.
Yeah.
But, you know, other schools have some bleachers. I
Yeah.
think Discovery had nothing, if I recall. So, I mean, all of that evolves, all of that is in discussions when we're talking with the county,
Yeah.
you know, there are programs to be in there and MOAs and those kinds of things. But there are some accommodations, but generally APS tries to build the school for the school use. If there's modifications that can be made simply, you know, it's even the TDM bike facilities for faculty and staff. We were building them as something completely separate. Now we're trying to build them as something that can be used by the school, you know, and or students and or faculty, so that they aren't just sitting there empty or underutilized. So there's all those things that we evolve as we were doing the construction over those 10 years and things changed.
Yeah.
But
I guess we need to know what the needs of the people are, right? Before we think about what kind of modifications, it sound like good modifications. But I think that's part of all of our jobs, I think, is to look at what the county needs coming up and how can, you know, we do this so that we are meeting those needs and everybody's getting bang for their buck with the facilities.
That's great.
I don't know how you figure that out. I guess you look at what their CIPs are, what they want to do, and see if there's ways we can meet those things. But, yeah.
Great. No, I think it's great to hear. Thank you again. We definitely have a lot of more information they get, I think there's a lot of ways we at least could make recommendations to both boards on how to make this a little easier or user friendly with understanding the restrictions and what already exists. Like, I can't read. Rhea, thank you so much for coming on and being here to this evening. Your input was very helpful.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you guys for including us.
All right. Okay. Now we're moving on to the Facility Advisory Committee meeting minutes discussion on the topic of public-private partnerships.
Meeting minute sounds very official.
It has to, otherwise it doesn't get on the agenda.
You wanna start, or would you like me to?
Well, what I had to say is quite brief, so I.
Great.
Hold on.
Well, I was gonna basically read the minutes that I took. So that, you go ahead.
Okay. So, we went to a meeting where the School Facility Advisory Committee heard presentation about public-private partnerships so they heard from Builder, which is a company called MCN, and what was the name of the
Plenary.
Plenary, right?
Yeah.
Which is it's a Canadian company that does financing. So, that's what I do. So Plenary is a company that they arrange financing, debt, and then they own equity in the projects. And so, as I said, they're located in Canada. Did a lot of work in Canada, some work in the U.S. too. Talking about the why would you want to do this rather than do it yourself? When you're hiring a middleman, basically you're hiring expertise. So what this is kind of my summary with what they necessarily actually say. So what's the expertise you get out of these guys? One thing is you for the financing is off the balance sheet, so it doesn't increase what the ratings agencies might look at when they're creating how much of a debt burden county has. The other thing is there are economies of scale. So Plenary said it's usually the threshold for doing a public-private partnership is $200 million or more. So if you're doing one building, probably not. If you're doing a number of buildings, or maybe one really big project, then there's a possibility that you reach the threshold where they can get savings, and a lot of these savings come from economies of scale. So it's, you know about the Prince George's partnership. So they did a bunch. They've done a bunch of schools at once.
8.
Yeah, and so they're able to do some things in a standardized way, which cuts down the costs, and also to because they have so many, they have a fairly long timeline, and they can assure the companies that are working on this, you're gonna get work for a few years at least, not just this is one project that's going to be done. It's going to be done in 6 months, and you're going to be looking for something else. So that's another way in which they get economies, so depending on how you calculate it, this is actually something, Jeff, I'd like to have your work done here about maybe what you think. Depending on how you calculate it, from a more standardized and streamlined building process, they claim that you could get up to savings of up to 20%. So that that's why it might be worth looking into. So that's what I have to say about it.
Well, Yeah, stole it right out of my mouth. Yeah, so I had MCN, it's the largest K through 12 builder in the DMV. They're doing a lot of adaptive reuse as well. And they're in Prince George's County. It's 8 campuses they're working on. And so they're like, you're buying so many widgets, you can buy the widgets for cheaper. And they're kind of almost look like when we saw blueprints, it's almost the same school.
Yeah.
Just 8 different ways. So it's not, you know.
Your, tinker. Anyway.
Plenary, however you say it, arranges financing. They are mostly debt financing. They are equity, and they, unlike other P3s in the US, have never sold their equity. So sometimes these providers will sell stakes to other people. It's like your mortgage being sold to another mortgage loan provider that you now have to deal with a new loan provider. So in the history of their company, which is about 20 years, they've not sold any of theirs. So that was kind of the selling point. These are 30-year agreements. So over the 30 years, the public sector owns the asset. P3 builds and maintains. So we would have a maintenance contract with them, with the organization, and they would sub out the maintenance providers, and they have to basically at the end of that 30 years give us the building in new working order. So we're gonna, the roof is gonna be good, the HVAC is gonna be good, all of those things. And that's built into the cost that we've paid over the 30 years, in addition to the build and the maintenance and the financing. So the risk is transferred to the developer for the maintenance. You get a builder that only cares about the warranty period. So currently, this would extend that warranty period 30 years from that standpoint, from our risk. Okay,
So
hang
that's
on.
something that, I mean, that would come out of major maintenance budget in theory if something happened, right?
It would be, yeah, so this would be,
Theoretical savings.
yeah, major maintenance, yeah. So this would be something, so rather than us having to cover that during that 30 years, it's something they have to cover. So if something fails, that's on them. So then this is like, I'm quoting them. You take over a school not at the end of its life cycle, but everything has been replaced. So the handoff is not just an aged infrastructure at the end of the 30 years. It's still a maintained building.
What do we pay for this?
So this is,
Sorry,
If it's built into the structure.
is that right? Okay.
yeah. They were still estimating, now it wasn't, to me, it seemed like they didn't take into account quite everything that is reality. And I think the room was, I was like, you know, hi, I'm here as a guest, but like, this seems too good to be true. Like, I don't understand the downside.
Yeah.
Cause they basically were like, it's 20% cheaper and it's gonna be a new building in 30 years and everything's amazing. And I'm like, why is everyone not doing this? So there were some questions, I think, like, how do you make money?
Yeah.
As an organization? And the answer was not totally clear, but it was it sounds like their money-making side is the investors they get on buying that equity in their company. Would you agree with that assessment, either of
It's
y'all?
also 30 years of cash flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's guaranteed cash flow for 30 years for a company.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so, right, he was talking about, right. Bring these two strands together, right? So who are the investors? Like a lot of, say, pension funds, right?
Yeah, like retirement, the teacher's retirement fund
So
is one of
people who
their
want, people who want
low risk, but
low risk.
long term. You know, we're fine with 4% growth. That's guaranteed over 30 years or whatever. That's who's investing. It's a lot of annuity plans and things like that are who is investing in this, which did remind me when I worked for multifamily housing. I remember I worked for the like BD department and we built a presentation for the teacher's retirement fund, the REIT or whatever. So I do remember, I was like, oh, it's all coming full circle. I remember because we wanted them to invest in our multifamily housing and our student properties. So, budget comes out of the operating budget with a 30-year fixed price. As best we can tell, based on the conversations in the room, this would not be it would not go to voter approval. Because there's no bond associated with this. So it would just purely be a vote by the school board, which is very different than how we do buildings now.
Yeah.
Their debt cost is higher because they are single A rated, we're triple A. And then they try to take investors from the community. Apparently, like anybody could come to them Like you could go to them and say, I'd like to be in on this project as a community member. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, still.
It needs to be over, I had 200 and I exited out, put 250 to make sense. One of their cost savings is project labor agreements. And then I had asked, I'd written down, but I don't remember getting an answer to this about how it works with like approving agencies. I do feel like they touched on that, but a lot of what they do is like going for permitting is under them, not under APS, as far as I understood it. And then briefly, we talked about the Halifax model, which is a bill that was approved under the Youngkin administration that would allow for localities to add, I think it's a 1 cent sales tax increase. And that goes directly to schools rather than the county for infrastructure purely. And it's been trialed or piloted, I want to say, in 7 jurisdictions in Virginia, and potentially may go wider. So that was brought up as well. Separate from this. I didn't want to note it though.
So what you're listening to these, as you said, it sounded like, is this too good to be true? And the guy who was giving from plenary giving the presentation did say, well, we do calculate things this way, and so you may have other things you add in there, which may reduce the 20%. But anyway, so I wanted to ask you, Jeff, since you were listening to the presentation, but like that this, as somebody who has a ton of experience in this field, right? These sound like reasonable claims to you, or maybe, or are they reasonable, but they're relying on like things we don't have here, like we're probably not going to build 8 schools at once or
Right.
refurbish. That's not one of the, before I finish. Another point is, right, like he said, the guy from MCN said, it's always cheaper to reuse rather than rebuild. As long as you're starting with a decent structure, you got a totally rotten building, okay, just right.
Yeah, rebuild the structure. It's not.
Yeah, but if the structure's good, then it's always cheaper to.
Yeah, I think that was one of the
Renovate-
questions. Do you
renovate.
ever do adaptive reuse? And they said yes.
So anyway,
Yeah, I've done a ton of adaptive reuse over the years, and my biggest disappointment was just the fact that they didn't really do their homework on their cost savings, because one of the things they were really excited about was Thomas Jefferson, where we were looking at building a new structure. And then
On the field, I think, right? Basically.
well, it's on the north side, I think it's the north side of the field, the other side of from where the school is now, up on Irving.
Yeah.
Up along Irving. And then they calculated, oh yeah, we could do it much less than that. And I said, did you guys calculate the fact that when we did that, the other half of the project was to tear down the section of the school at TJ, but a full renovation, new HVAC system for the theater, the community center and all that. And they're like, oh, no. So that was part of their 20% savings, is the fact, sure, it looked great. And I was like, it's clearly in the
It seemed like-
presentation that.
Because I think they had a few schools that they did. And it just seemed to me like they took whatever number APS had and just took 20% off.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was more into it than that, but that.
But the bottom line is, you have to look at those things and say, is there going to be, past 5 years, we had escalation of what, 28%. If you're in a period of escalation of 28% and you can build 8 schools. Now, if you're at 2% and you can build 8 schools, it's a lot less savings. If you're gonna have 2 years escalation. The other issue that you have to look at too is all of what you're going to pay them for those 8 schools comes out of the school's operating budget. So whether you finance it for your own bond or you finance it to pay them, it's still going to take the dollars out of your operating budget.
Yeah, it's still
Which
the
is-
10% that we
Right.
have, yeah.
And you are providing profits and you are providing payments and you are You know, and anytime you have a long-term contract for maintenance, you know, they have escalation in there. They will have escalation because
So you're
costs
pay
are gonna
more.
go up.
Sure. If they didn't, we should.
They
find
also
out.
talked about, they also talked about not paying wage rates. You know, as a savings, and it's like, and they also didn't understand, you know, whether we have to do it or don't do it or whatever is the BLPC PFRC process, which is a year and a half. Because they aren't doing that in Prince George's. You know, they're just going through and doing the approvals, and they said, oh, and the county will work with us at Prince George's, the county inspection services division is working with us. That's not necessarily going to happen. You know, that they're going to bend over, roll over for
Right,
any developer.
right.
Because
Who is they in that scenario?
Hmm?
Who is
Our
there?
facilities.
inspection services division.
Okay. You're saying the Prince Williams Inspection Services is easier to work with?
He said that they're working with them. They're basically telling them to approve things. Is what I heard him say
Okay, okay.
or imply.
I thought he was
He
saying
said it's
they
a
are the
very
ones.
easy process because they're working with us because
Okay.
they're funding it. So they're, but
As someone who had to sit in the inspection office and get my own permitting and all that stuff, if I could have hired a contractor that did that for me, I would have loved that. I thought that's what he was saying, like, that we're the ones that go sit in the, and get the.
yeah,
permit.
but they'll work with us.
Wink,
That's what he
wink.
said.
Okay, I didn't catch the wink, but.
Just a moment. This is JFAC, right?
Yeah, you're the right
Yes.
Go to ITAC. Different gig.
Okay, you're double booked.
Thank you. I'm very happy.
Yeah, yeah.
Just make sure that these people understand.
Yeah.
Always.
We'll stand.
How you doing, Doug?
I'm trying to understand.
We all are.
I'm trying to survive a budget season, so.
Thanks for stopping by.
That's good.
So, yeah, there's something like, I thought of listening to the presentation was, if you have presumably there's some kind of a standard agreement, but, but for the service agreement about, what is the standard of maintenance of the building, like that's something you really have to.
Yeah.
You have to have experienced people go with that with a fine tooth comb and make sure that, that you're getting what you want out of that.
Right. Well, and I think, they're talking about decent equipment, that kind of stuff, but they're still looking at more of a developer grade piece of equipment than we are typically doing with our, we're trying to look at 30-year life cycles of,
I mean, hypothetically, they're financially incentivized to also look at a 30-year life cycle.
They do, but that's one of the ways, well, MCN Build, they did the Ed Center for APS. So I have worked with them as a contractor and they like substitutes.
Mm.
They always find something cheap. And again, again, you said, how do they make their money?
Yeah.
You make your money by, standardizing things. Developer grade stuff is not necessarily bad equipment. It's just,
Sure.
you figure out, I'm going to replace this once or twice during the life, but it's not going to be necessarily the same equipment.
Worst case is it failed at year 31.
Yeah. But for instance, our HVAC systems, we have pandemic mode in our HVAC systems is what we're designing in now. So we can increase the fresh air intake if there would ever be another COVID. Are they going to do that? I don't know.
Is that something that we could write into?
You can write anything in, but the point is
If they're so
once you get them contracted and then they,
That's it for 30 years.
well, no,
or
and then they
whatever.
start putting the numbers together and, they're gonna do a bag of envelope and then you're gonna start asking, oh, well, okay, that's an extra, that's an extra.
It's like
It's like
18% or 15% saving.
whatever. I mean, but yeah, it can be savings if you can do 8 at one time and you can afford the payments.
And are Prince George's in this process? Have they actually started to build?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They have several, are
they're doing-
almost
they're-
opening like any month now and then
Didn't you say
several.
they're doing all 8 buildings within 4 years?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
our design process is 18 months to 2 years. when we get into the BLPC, PFRC process and all of those things that we do with the Arlington Way. So it would be 6 years if they did 8 buildings here. But again, in my past life, when I was doing the architecture, is we got involved with a developer that was trying to do privatization for schools in Pennsylvania. But there they had a reimbursement, and schools got dollars back. And one of the things and part of their formula was to make sure that they got the reimbursement if they did the projects. And they were also trying not to pay wage rates, which you had to pay wage rates in Pennsylvania schools. And bottom line was the state finally came back and said, no, you can't.
I did get the impression that they felt like Arlington would be a little bit of a feather in their cap. And that potentially could be a benefit to us from a negotiation standpoint. Because we're like a well-known jewel of a county, well-run. And I mean, the number of people they flew in from Canada for this back meeting was
No, he came from Florida.
Florida. Well,
He lives in Florida
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I was sitting next to a gal, there was quite a few people. It just felt to me like it would be a great thing for them if they got in here. And so maybe that would be a negotiation standpoint for us as a way to have a better priced.
Certainly worth considering.
Yeah, I think our administration is looking at it.
Yeah.
They're looking at crunching the numbers and that kind of stuff. And again, I mean, when you look at it from the developer side, is guaranteed $250 million worth of construction and a guaranteed, 30 years of maintenance cash flow. I mean, it's a heck of, it's
Yeah.
from business end of it. It's
Oh, yeah.
really good from a contractor, from a designer, from a financier. You got 30 years of guaranteed dollars coming in.
From a government organization.
From a
AAA government organization, yeah.
Exactly.
So I mean,
Yeah, potentially a win-win. I think it's worth.
potentially, or it could be a break even for schools, when it's all said and done. And you're just paying the profits to, that group instead of another, because
Because you're paying somebody to do the
you're
work.
paying somebody to do the work, you're paying
That's
somebody's
fair.
overhead and profit. And the question is, can you do it faster? If you can do it faster, you can save money. Not convinced you can do it faster, because we've tried to do things faster. And the shortest, our average was around 6 years. We got it down to 5 to do the project. And then we actually made one work in 4.5, but it didn't really work because we had it on the end.
If you wonder how that would work with their model, that extra planning time up front, if their model sort of assumes fast approvals, get it built, get the cash flow flowing in.
Right.
Are they willing to, how much?
You haven't met the Arlington way yet.
In order to do that, how much premium? Again, it's.
Well,
all
it
part
would
of the-
be,
It's all part of the negotiation.
yeah, and then there's timelines that they have to agree to potentially. So, if they don't meet the timeline, that's on. Shoot.
But from a privatization standpoint, time is money, and if they can build it faster than a typical building gets built, there's less overhead and profit that's being paid to other companies or a company that's building. It's just like, I never understood. Years ago, I could build a middle school I built a middle school in 10 months. It was 140,000 square foot building. You can't do that today because of the codes and the improvements and the community involvement, engagement, and all of that. But at one point, you could do that. And the contractors that I worked with at that time were, you gave me 12 months to build this, but I'm going to build it 10, because then I take that 2 months of overhead and profit that I included in my bid and I stick it in my pocket.
Right.
Today's mentality of construction is, we'll get to it, get done. Yeah. Oh, we have delays. Oh, can't get materials.
We need more money now.
Does everyone, do people ever write in, like, you have to get it done in this time, or you're liable for?
You can, but you're gonna pay for it. You're gonna pay a premium. And, and that's the problem, with the whole construction process is everybody says it's a construction industry. It's a whole bunch of disparate parts that somehow work together and get a building.
There's a lot of trade to go into it, 100%, yeah. Right.
But, I think we got a really good deal on Grace Hopper. And that contractor, I've never seen a contractor in 12 years I've been doing this work that is that organized and is that focused. If we didn't have to deal with Union Energy, and some other things, you said Washington Gas.
Yeah.
I mean, our delays have been caused not by the contractor and not by supply. It's all been government agencies and utilities.
That's maddening.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Which
Is
is
that what all the road work around that site is right now?
No, that's complete streets, which we actually bid as part of the project because we didn't have wage rates in the project. County pulled an alternate to do it, so they're paying an extra $300,000 or $700,000 because they bid it separately with wage rates. And the intent, I mean, basically, that whole thing would be done by August. All the street's gonna be going for another year and a half. Because it's being separate. But we got them to agree to get the 9th Street intersection done before
Yeah.
school opens.
Yeah.
So that we have a crosswalk and a new traffic light on.
Okay. They're putting a traffic light there on 9th, it needs one.
Yeah. And it's being narrowed down to 2 lanes. It's gonna be protected bike lanes.
Oh, good.
Well, my fear is people are gonna be dashing across the street because it's only 2 lanes now. It's like-
We have that on.
Oh, without the
People
crosswalk.
cross Cumberland Pike like that, and it's
Yeah.
a bazillion lanes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially at the busiest time of the day.
So anyhow, yeah, there's possibilities it's worth looking at. I absolutely agree with that. But again, we had, and our finance department, I think, is gonna do the math and see what they think. And the numbers are what's gonna sell it or not sell it.
So these two places that MC and the plenary,
Plenary.
Plenary. I know,
Plenary.
feels like there should be another sound.
yeah, like, is there a plenary?
Yeah.
Sorry, if any of those folks are, I apologize for.
Plenary,
Surely.
This is a public
surely
forum.
they would have checked it.
But so they are in the formal process of talking to us about. or not
No,
us, but-
no, I think we basically gave them our facility studies, the feasibility study, the additional ones we did were, we were doing the renovation to our standards for building new,
Are these?
which the board said was too expensive.
Yeah.
So we've actually done another set of facility studies that have really brought costs down and really focus on accessibility, safety.
These are the deep dives?
Yeah, it's the deep dives. There's another number that's going to be coming.
Yeah, you got it.
Start talking about. So, it's, but instead of focusing on our ed specs, it's focused on the needs and the major infrastructure. So it's major infrastructure, safety and accessibility are before the education space.
So, just to clarify, the 2 middle school, they're looking at the 2 middle schools and the.
And the 3 elementaries.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
we're still looking at the same things, but
Yeah,
the costs have been way down. Looking at it in a different way, just a different lens that the board asked us to do it. They were looking at 30 to 50 million for the elementaries and I think it was 80 million.
Yeah.
50 to 80 for the middle schools.
each.
We aren't exactly there and they wanted us to give 3 different
Good, better,
points,
best, or
but
whatever.
we basically, what we did was say, okay, what is absolutely necessary? And we looked at that and then we had what is necessary or have to has and want to has. So there was actually some things they could take out. So, and
Ordering a la carte.
it's not always good.
Yeah, sure. I know, I think FAC would love to continue this conversation.
Well, FAC is not going to exist.
Well, I was gonna make a nod to that.
Oh,
If the vote
sorry,
goes
thank
through on Thursday.
Fact is gonna,
I forgot.
A lot of the standing committees are being demolished for, let's keep the construction.
So, yeah.
Reconstructed
Yes.
in a different way.
Reimagine.
And it's all APS ones are changing. And there is going to be a combination of the BAC and the FAC under one umbrella.
Well, the BAC is actually
Commission.
gonna be between all of them.
Okay,
And what they're trying to do is set up focus groups
yeah.
for the board.
Yeah.
And facilities in academics, and I forget I think there's 5. They keep changing it, with the presentation. But they're changing it to different structures, and every spring, they're going to give the committees a charge of what they
Go
will
look
do.
at this or whatever.
This is
Yeah.
what we want you to study. And the reason they're doing that is a lot of committees are spending an awful lot of energy and time coming up with solutions that there weren't problems
Yes.
or
Yes.
whatever, however you want to define that.
Was it sort of folks bringing their
Some-
particular,
That as a former chair of one of them, some of it, I say that we brought a solution to, they didn't know it was a problem yet.
Right.
We brought them a solution
That too.
earlier
That too.
and it was not adopted for 5 years. It eventually was. But I been so excited by this charge idea, because it would be great to understand. And, school board, they don't have staff, they don't have all the stuff, like use all of these volunteers and all the
Yeah.
hours and the passion and the subject matter experts. We have all these,
Yeah.
Every one of you has this background and experience that is invaluable, like.
right.
And
So like bring
what
in
you
all
bring.
these voices
Right.
in this here and focus on something that, as a school board, I want best practices on math or whatever it is. Take this for a year, come back to me and provide this great recommendation. I think it's gonna be great. The proposal as written tomorrow, there is like kind of this wider umbrella of things, and then under it are these standing committees for like SOL type of subjects, which I think makes sense. And then there's an ad hoc, which is maybe this year we want to have an ad hoc committee on, like we did this year on ed tech, whatever it is. So those would kind of come and go. So that's the proposal is written for tomorrow night vote, but FAC does not exist under that proposal. So I think expanding it, as you mentioned earlier, expanding JFAC, as you mentioned earlier, makes sense at this time.
Well, I think have had 12 to 14 members at one point, and what are we at, like 8 right now? So 7, yeah, so we have, and it didn't happen at one time. There was some people who timed out, there were some people who moved away, some people who didn't want to serve anymore, whatever reason, and it all happened relatively quickly, over the last 2 years, would you say, Emily? So, we got 3 outstanding individuals added. We're doing it again, so we'll do it again in another year. And that way we kind of have a little bit of growth. And again, I think every commission has some churn, right? So.
And change of vision.
And change of vision, right, and priorities and charter. And
I think the charge idea could be really interesting if we're then sort of used it.
Yeah.
But they're gonna be rolled into a group of things, facilities and operations, but they could look at transportation. That's what it was. If they can look at, new buildings, they could look at how do we renovate, they could look at whatever, anything that has to do with facilities and operations. I think that,
Yeah, operations is one.
right, that's what it's.
I,
What
what
they did was-
JFAC looked into in the past, I know there was a study done on this, but I would love to explore this further, but I don't know if this is our lane. Oh, wow, so great, the analogies or the,
Kathleen,
but
Oh, yeah.
have we looked, could this be a continual journey that JFAC could take, or maybe again, it's someone else's lane, but the art metro APS transit journey of kind of trying to find efficiencies there. Kathleen?
You guys made my job easy.
Yay. Writing up.
You guys are summarizing all that. So Allison, to your question about whether or not we could take that up, I'm really, as one board member, I think it's very important that we continue to find the efficiencies in the things that we do. so that we're not duplicating efforts with the county. Transportation is one of those areas where I feel like where it makes sense, we should be leveraging existing public transportation. I think there are some challenges navigating some of it. Some of it is not very cost effective. Some of it requires significant shifting of of transit schedules. And that is problematic, but again, where we have the ability to do things more efficiently, we should be. So we should, take this up or consider taking this up as part of the work group. But I do know that there is a commission that they've been running. I just don't know how involved, right, that we do it with schools in the county. But I wanted to chime in with, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to chime in though about some of what you guys might see in the discussion tomorrow night for what we are attempting to adopt in policy or pass on, as the case may be. I think we have very different opinions still on what this should look like. And part of the reason why we have difference of opinion on what this should look like is trying to figure out where subcommittees, fall into play. But the biggest change in this is really going to be the school board's directive and charge for the councils to be working through. I think this is incredibly important. As I was liaison to ACTL this year, I provided some high-level guidance, and in retrospect, that guidance could have been a lot better. You don't know that until you get through the process, right? And that is part of it. I will say though, part of what our committees or subcommittees are looking at is stuff that the staff does. So it's really hard to understand and know the difference between what is something that's feasible for us to do as a best practice and what staff does and, resource adoption. Virginia operates very differently than other states. Some best practices don't align. And there were a lot of recommendations over the years that said, please use the extra headcount at a school for, let's say, math, and put in a math, an extra math interventionist or, code it however, but that person can help pull out math. We would get the same recommendation from science, put that person to science. Then you have somebody saying, put that person to social studies. And the challenge with that is you're getting the same types of recommendations, all requesting the same headcount. And that's not, that's a challenge in and of itself, and it's not something that's actionable. And so when we think about what we need as a school board, we need items that we can actually take action on, and that's not something we can. We also don't have the luxury of having that extra headcount anymore. So we are pulling back, and some of those additional headcount that you have seen before will roll into other roles that we really need in schools, particularly in special education, to help with our co-teaching models. So that is just a little bit of where we are and some of the challenges there. Any questions? Is that helpful context?
No, I hear what you're saying about the, we have a half a FTE for XYZ, let's put them all. That half FTE being absorbed into lots of different roles, wearing many hats, or desired personally wearing many hats. And they're like, oh, can I get another half FTE instead of like looking at it holistically for each school?
I mean, I'd push back a little and just say, I think sometimes those have been adopted. Like we saw math interventionists as a recommendation and those were adopted. I think there's always going to be competing priorities, and that's as a school board, you guys take in those competing priorities and then you decide what is the right choice. But I guess I don't view that as, I certainly think many committees have made recommendations I would never adopt when I'm on the school board.
Right, but then
But I think
we're,
there have been many that have been helpful, and things like them having the resource of like somebody that is really good at knowing about math and going and look at the curriculum and giving recommendations on it.
yes,
That's my
Yes.
only.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
see there the value at.
And
Yeah.
you can't have we would like to have a one size fits all, but not every single elementary school has the same needs as.
right,
You know,
Right.
yes.
But-
I mean, sorry, I sat in one school board meeting, when I was working on the strategic plan a few years ago, and literally the recommendations for BAC, FAC, and JFAC all contradicted each other. And I was like, well, that's really super unhelpful. So it's one of those things where it's all going to be on perspective. And sometimes, when it is really important that we use the school board provides very clear
Yeah, I think that would be very helpful.
expectations and charge, so that going forward, we can use the recommendations a little more. No one wants community members doing all this work only to come to us, present it, and find out we're not doing anything, because we can't, because it's a great theory, but it's not able to be implemented. Or we have all of these other competing priorities for the next 2 years. We can't even touch that recommendation. So, I think about it with that audit lens as to whether or not what's coming to us is something that we can even feasibly do. That doesn't even necessarily mean budget. Sometimes that's implementation.
I just wanted to say, I was actually on the committee that helped put some of this together, but
Yeah.
one of the things that I want to say is from FAC experience and 10 years of being in the FAC, the last 3 years, there was board direction, liaison direction from the board member who was the liaison. And the FAC was much more efficient and effective in what we're doing than the first years where they were all over the place, doing whatever they wanted to do and whatever that person's focus was, and nothing really got done.
well, and
I think that's why the charge is gonna be so
Yeah.
helpful.
Yes.
I would love to baby step this change a bit. Just try to with the charges
Yeah.
and the direction versus removing any sort of standing subcommittee of like the kind of subject matter experts, so we're not a mile wide and an inch deep. I think that the direction will be super helpful.
I think so.
Yeah.
and having you on the meeting, Kathleen, and your predecessors, virtually in person, whatever, like I'm sure you saw the same thing, Allison, like having that sounding board at the very least is hugely important during the meetings. Like, hey, we're going down this rabbit hole, and then wait, no, don't, let's go back on, let's go back over here, it's good to have that, assistance, supervision.
Yeah, because when I was SHAB chair, I was given direction, don't give us anything that costs money, essentially. Like if this is not a budget that we can, so
Yeah.
then we could tailor the things we wanted to do with either if it did cost money, here's some offsets, or here's stuff that doesn't cost money. Like even just having that kind of framing was really helpful.
Any other alibis?
Talking about MCN's, apparently MCN did a fire station for the conference.
Yes, they did. They mentioned
Okay.
that at the meeting too.
By
that they
the
did fire
Heidelberg?
station, yeah.
Yeah, by the Taco Bell across from the Heidelberg Bakery.
The new,
Oh.
Thank you.
also the new McDonald's.
Oh, yes, the new McDonald's.
I went to Heidelberg for something not too long ago. and I was like,
King cake?
Yeah, king cake. I don't even got king cake. Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to live on the Gulf Coast. Yeah.
Golden commercial areas.
Nice. Well, if there's no other, anything else on this agenda item, we'll move to the second to last item, the superintendent's proposed FY 2027 budget. hopefully all committee members had a chance to look at it. Kind of lead the discussion, but honestly, so the budget is a lot of the things that aren't facilities. Not to say they're not important, just that I would like for us to review it in the lens of like, hey, this is where the rest of the budget's going. And, understanding how important all these things are. Yeah, you got it. Okay, good. So taking a look at the presentation, it was printed on the 26th of February. It's right after our meeting.
Yes.
There's going to slide 12. There's lots of focus on investing in student academic growth and successes, the planning factors, looking at slide 14. This is a 40 slide deck, and I don't want to go through every slide. I don't think it's necessary, but just to bring out some highlights, student well-being on slide 14, our operational excellence on slide 15, lots of ways to save money, reducing efficiencies. So, but I do want to spend a few minutes on slide 16, which kind of brings it all together into one, slide. Now, obviously, there's a lot more detail and information here, but an increase in 26 million in compensation, health insurance, which of course is going to go up, baseline adjustments, the Grace Hopper Center getting finished. I don't know if any of that was road, like Jeff was talking about, and then sped planning factors. And it looks like we have a reduction in other funds for budget items, which is, I guess, a good thing. More revenue less revenue from feds, but more from state. And then a transfer from the county and local revenue. And then some little adjustments there, not little, but some adjustments there with the central office reductions. And I guess VRS and lapse turnover.
I think that's to do with the employee retirement fund, how they've been funding it in the past. Kathleen's nodding. Sorry, continue.
No, I'm asking, what is it?
Oh.
Please go.
That's the big item, so yeah.
Yeah, there's.
I was like, and I don't know what this is, but please somebody tell me.
As over the past few years, there's been quite a bit of diving deeper into the way that we do our retirement funds. And I think they had kept like a pretty large reserve in that maybe that they're now projecting is not, that was too large of a reserve.
Okay.
The way that they had calculated it in the past. And so this is they're changing that calculation. Is that correct, Kathleen?
Well, sort of. We were allowed to contribute less this year, so we did. Like the way that the contributions,
the calculation of your contribution.
Yes, correct. The calculation of the contribution is different this year, so we don't.
Is it a one-time thing, Kathleen, or is this an ongoing saving?
So I asked that question, and my understanding is it is this way until it changes and they tell us we have to contribute something different. And I don't know when that is. Our stocks have dropped lately, and some of this is, an investment for retirees, and when the stocks aren't doing well and market's not doing well, and we may have to contribute more again. I don't know that would hit this year.
Kathleen, on the additional state revenue, based on the conversation yesterday, is that with anticipated changes, meaning it would be the 5 million-ish total, or?
No, that is the low end, provided that we're not getting anything more.
They're coming back in April?
End of April, I think, is what we think. By the second board meeting in April.
Okay. Yeah, it may be more.
Right. It could change.
I think this is the Youngkin level baseline, and
yes. Yeah,
So-
this is the initial. This is not, yeah. But again, that's not that's nowhere near, right, the JLARC study and what we need to function and run our budget. Because truly, just if you guys take a look on the right-hand side where it says new budget items in the special education planning factors, we are doing a micro adjustment again this year. We did one this year, select schools, select grades, to be able to add in like a co-teacher in a classroom. We're going to do a little bit more this year for high school, select grades, select schools, select subjects. If we were to truly fund special education the way that we should, based on our inclusion model and belief in no longer segregating students, it would cost an extra $33 million. And that is no way that the state's giving us that much money year after year after year, right? Like that it would be an annual increase of $33 million just to go to these planning factors to ensure we're doing them with fidelity. And you know what, there was a presentation done at BAC maybe 4 years ago with the ASAC chair at the time, Dave Rosenblatt. And, you know, he talked about funding and we truly do fund to segregation, meaning we say we're going to include special education students 80% of the time. And what that actually accounts to when you think about middle school and high school is, okay, we're saying 6 out of 7 periods a day, we want that student in general education setting. We fund to one of those. That is how our funding works. And that's a problem. Yeah. And the one thing we do know in the data is that the more students are included, the better the test results, the SOL scores. Like there's data to show that when students are included, they have better outcomes. And we don't fund to that. The mindset is not always structured around that. We don't always have the great access within our classrooms. So, you know, it is an ongoing challenge in the school system. I'm delighted to hear like we have some of that happening in our AP classes this year. I know Yorktown has a couple of subjects where they're putting in co-teachers into the advanced placement classes, but having 2 students with disabilities that are also recognized as gifted, we may have to pick and choose whether we take an advanced class that meets their needs academically or taking a general education class where there's a co-taught classroom. And that's not where we want to be, I don't think, in Arlington.
Yeah. So what is the board considering? Or what are your thoughts on how to?
For the planning factors, I mean, we want to continue to do these micro adjustments. But if we do these little micro adjustments, it's going to take us 30 years to get there. We're doing, I mean, this is just shy of $1 million. If we need 33, right? Like you do a little bit each time, but.
Yeah.
Kathleen, for the compensation line at 26, is that a step and a COLA?
Yes.
What's the COLA?
It's 4 point something together, I think. I don't remember off the top of my head. If you give me a second, I can look it up.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I'm curious what so additional county transfer and the additional local revenue, what are that's just on top of the year prior?
That is, you know, the county does that transfer.
Yeah, with their closeout? Is that
with the closeout, yeah. And then the local revenue. I don't want to speak here. Jeff, is this the one with that's the, like the attainment of fees?
Could be,
I think that's the fees like that we collect for,
Like DPR.
yeah, well, like the pools and such.
such, yeah, there's, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Has there been discussion about the Halifax?
Oh, yeah, we've talked about it. I think there's discussion that we'd like to see something like that go forward.
Does that,
I think Bethany has been working on that.
does that require a county, like a vote in November?
That's bigger than us. That is bigger than the local level. I forgot how it happened in Halifax, but I know Bethany's been tracking this one.
The voter referendum was required.
Yeah.
That'd be a facilities.
I think it is, I think there's a reference.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it'll pass.
Ask what it
Based
is.
on where we, what is it?
Yeah.
So 1 cent, is it a sales
can-
tax?
Yeah,
Oh, is this the sales tax? It's in the
Yes,
budget.
but it's
Yeah.
then the tax flowing through the county to the schools, it's directly to the schools, but it has to be used for infrastructure,
Okay.
I believe.
right.
Thank you.
But the question is, would there be a reduction somewhere else?
Sure,
Yeah.
that's a good question, or good point,
Nothing to say.
because it's a county board, school board conversation.
They had last night.
I saw.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you guys haven't checked that out, it was a pretty good
It's a robust
conversation.
conversation,
Robust conversation. That's
energetic.
yeah.
I've watching.
Enough stress in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we talk offline about anything that I heard. We could certainly go through the rest of the proposed budget, but
The second hour of the presentation yesterday is us presenting the school board budget. So if you start at minute like 110, you could go through, Dr. Duran goes through all of the slides and sort of talks through everything. I actually think the one that's sort of at the end is the best. Keep going down a few slides. When we go through our unfunded needs, yeah. Okay. Yeah, keep going. I think there should be. It's where we go to the percentages.
oh yeah, that's towards the end.
Yep.
I'm looking.
I think it's at the end of this one. Or is that page, is that 40?
That's
Is that the last one?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a slide in that we had in yesterday's where it showed, so at a state level, you know, we're supposed to get 80% of our funds through the county. And that has changed significantly. It's 76%. It could go down to, I think depending on what the transfer looks like, it might be 70. Yeah, here you go. That's 76%.
Yep.
So the challenge is, how do we continue to fund and staff what we need? And although our population is stagnant, I will say that from a services perspective, we are seeing still we have students with higher needs now, and trying to address both the higher needs and the challenge of meeting our kids where they are from a special education and English learner perspective. In order for us to keep making traction on that, our budget will inherently have to grow, even if the population is stagnant.
Yeah, I mean, is that more than inflation or just related increases in costs?
Related increases in costs, staff compensation, turnover can be a big challenge, right? When you're continuously turning over. We could see more more stores. I'm thinking Gap right now. We could see more schools on the, not pass the SOLs and wind up as federally identified. So that to me is that extreme cost of us not meeting, having the particularly in special education, English learner, that we've had some positions open for a long time in schools that we desperately need, but to find the right person for the pay. We have jurisdictions around us, neighboring jurisdictions that pay $6,000 more for special education. So, would really like to be able to offer additional bonuses or something to be able to staff some of these really hard to fill positions. That takes money, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So it seems like as a advisory board, we're talking about that little orange section, right? Like as far as trying to revenue from a local. I mean, that's not a significant amount of money.
Right.
It's trying to find.
Well, I mean, we are county and APS, so the county.
And let's think about like the synergies, right? The things that both the APS does and the county does, right? We both run transportation. We both provide some level of after-school activities and access. We both have to offer our employees healthcare. There are areas that we might be over time be able to find these synergies where holistically we may be able to reduce those costs across the broader perspective, both APS and the county.
Natalie has her hand.
Oh, sorry, Natalie, go ahead. Unmute yourself, Natalie.
You're muted. I don't know where the mic is.
Natalie. We look at the
She still shows muted.
chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Natalie, if you want to chat, just feel
I'm
free
having
to
trouble unmuting.
add to the conversation.
Can you unmute her?
I tried, I can't.
We
can't
can't.
have people.
Guess that would
You
be
can
a
only-
scary power. I can mute people.
You can only shut them up.
Oh, well.
Any other alibis on the superintendent's proposed budget? I feel like this slide's really good, and see.
Kathleen, what is the timeline on y'all knowing exactly where you fall with county transfer? Is that when they vote?
We won't know, because they have to, what is it, the quarterly closeout, so with the rolling schedule, so we'll know closer to, I think, June, what we'll have from them. And perhaps we're hoping we know more by the end of April at that board meeting and have a better sense of where we will land. If you were listening yesterday, it was not very optimistic.
I listened.
Not very optimistic. The questions did come up as how much we have in reserves. And there's still the potential that we could have some loss of federal funds of up to 3 million or so.
Special education.
Yeah. So Natalie, I don't,
Can we see her?
I know at one point in time that there was we were, APS and the county were working and somebody walked away from it. And I don't know that that has ever been revisited after that happened. And I want to say maybe it's 10 years ago, based on my conversations with folks in the community. I was not very engaged as a parent then.
It's very small font.
Yeah.
I got it, but it took a minute.
So, just read Natalie's response. Yeah,
Okay.
why do APS and county healthcare costs not be shared, or at least,
Yeah.
integrated?
Negotiated together.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And like I said, at one point they were there from what I understand and they were working on it and somebody walked away. And I think that I don't know that it's ever been bridged again or approached.
All right, there's no other discussion on this agenda item. We can move to the last one, which is the public comment at the end of the meeting. So obviously Natalie has her hand raised, but we've addressed that. Does anyone else would like to speak? Raise your hand now or wait till the next meeting. Okay. Well, this brings up our last one, actually. Is there a motion to adjourn? First and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. See you in May 11th.
Out of the cold room.
That's the one with facts.
Yeah. I was gonna have to take this off, but they get nice and chilly in here.
What's
really cold.
Alex,
Like, I keep answering my question for that.